on the Zoom call, and that way we can rebroadcast it onto YouTube. And that will work for us. So you know what? One of the things is when we do technology, we got to be willing to roll with it and have plan B. And so that is definitely where I'm going with plan B. So why don't we dive right in? So April 2020 is going to be a month that goes down in history as one with the greatest impact on our country. Everything from economic struggles to learning to live in quarantine. And actually, on hindsight, I think I could have done a 5-part series on how to really live with those you love, right? It would have been a well-watched broadcast because we all are making adjustments as we go. Even those of you living alone, you've had to adjust to the company, right? And so today I bring to you my final broadcast. It's the last Wednesday in April, and here we are already with the topic, again, smart communications following a time of crisis. And so I am going to provide to you today 15 questions to audit yourself with. And not only will I review each one of those questions in our short time together, but there's also going to be a worksheet available, and that will be downloadable with the description that appears in the rebroadcast or the replay of this recording. So don't feel like you have to hurry up and write it all down. I've prepared it for you in an easy to follow format. And I believe that if you will take the time to really ask and answer each one of those 15 questions, that's going to make a huge difference in how you prepare and get ready for getting back when it's time to open the doors. So here we go. We're going to dive right in. Are you ready? All right. And by the way, in the chat, for those of you who are joining me today, I'd love for you to just put in the chat for me your industry, say hello so I know that people are with me today. And I always like to know who's here. So put that in the chat for me and we are ready to go. All right. Question number 1 is I would like you to listen to or write out the outbound messaging that you have for your autoresponders on your email, your outbound voicemail, your email closure or signature line, your website, and your social media banners. Now that's going to be time consuming, but it is time well spent because this is a place where I think that people are missing the boat. So let me give you an example. Last week, I received an autoresponder email on a broadcast note that we sent out. So one of my clients or followers for this broadcast received the email. I got an autoresponder back, and this is what it said. I've been put on furlough, don't know when I will be back, need help? Call the main office number. Okay, now while there's nothing wrong with that, if I have a relationship with this person, if I was the client, that is not a connector. And that's one of the things we can be doing right now. Those of you who followed me through all 5 of these segments, you know I talked early on about what runway are you on? Are you on a short runway, a medium runway, or a long runway in your opportunity to get your doors back open? Whether you're a solopreneur or a small business, at some point the doors are going to open again. And I know from looking at my pre-registered list, that many of you are in that tourism and travel industry. And we have to admit, we are on the long runway together. And those of you on the call who are speakers, trainers, consultants, there's a bunch of you as well. We also are on a long runway. This email responder doesn't build connection, and connection is what we have right now. So what would I suggest a smarter communication be? What if this person's response was this? Thanks for your note. I'm currently on furlough, but that doesn't mean I don't care. Our office is still open and you can reach the staff member on duty by calling and then insert the number. As your expert travel advisor, I am committed to reconnecting as soon as we are fully operational again. Your dream trip is waiting and I'm excited to make that happen for you. What message are you wanting your clients to get? Not, hey, I'm out of work, so too bad you can't reach me, or it's, I'm still thinking about you and I'm going to be back. We are going to be back. So I really want you to think about that. The 3 questions are the 3 audit points under question number 1 are, how can your outbound messaging be improved? Positive, clear directions. Is there room to be clever? For example, next week, I am changing my personal email signature, and I think it's going to say something like this. One good thing about virtual presentations, I look so much smaller on a tablet than on a Jumbotron. Same important message, less square footage. All right, now I might have to wordsmith that a little bit to get a little tighter and a little more clever, but it's going to be better than sincerely yours. And it can also be a PS at the bottom. We should be using this communication tool much better than we do. The third point under question number 1 is, what do you want your customers to feel or think when they read your message? So I want mine, and I really want you to think about this for yourself, I want mine to feel hopeful that we are still here when this is over and I am ready to go to work. I think most of you feel that way too. And I can look over on the chat and see who's here. Oh, I'm so glad to have you guys here. We have CVBs, we have an accountant, we have an educational consultant. I love having you guys here. And you want your client to know that you're here and ready to take care of them. I want them to think of how my services can be used differently than before. How about you? How can they use you differently than they have before? I received a great note on Facebook from an old high school friend of mine, and he works for an airline, a small charter airline. And they've done charters forever, but they've changed it a little bit. And they've changed their wording to change their service. And his point is that we were always doing charters. We've just packaged this a little bit differently now. And I have that note somewhere in here. When I get to it, I'll come back to it. I kind of told that one out of order. So the note isn't right here in front of me. But the way they worded it was great. And it also falls in this category. So question number 1, look out at your outbound messaging. How can it be improved? Is there room to be clever? And how do you want your customers to think or feel after they read your messages? Remember, you don't need to write all this down. The entire worksheet is going to be available for you when we do the rebroadcast. Okay, ready? Question number 2. You see, I have to keep getting the hair out of my face because not only is it gray at the roots, it is longer than it's ever been in my life. My hairdresser has been encouraging me for years to try going out my bangs. I always told her, oh, I can't stand that. It would take at least a month or 2 months for my bangs to grow out. Guess what? Bam! Universe gave me the opportunity. So my bangs are about down here right now, and first thing I'm doing when I get in is chopping them off, Kelly. I'm chopping them off. So here we go. Question number 2. Be diligent about communicating changes in policy, procedure, and process. So, point number 1, have you spelled out any specific changes because of all of this? Who does it apply to, and how long will it be in effect? So let me give you an example. Today on our pre-registration list, there was a lot of people, again, representing the electric co-ops in Indiana and Iowa. And you're in a very special, unique situation. And you are a perfect example of this. My understanding is that when you have homes right now that need internet connection, that didn't have what they needed before, you would normally come in and install that kit. But instead, because you don't want to be going in or shouldn't be going into their homes, you are actually making arrangements to do a drop in the garage and then walking them through verbally how they can do a self-install kit. This is fantastic. This is a policy change you've put in place temporarily to get over the hump. Now, granted, you may have to go back and check the install or even fix the install later, but this is a change in your policy. How have you articulated that? Have you explained to the homeowners that this is not the end all? We aren't going to drop this kit here and never come back. You're going to plan on circling back. Am I clear on that? So that's a really important thing to make sure. And it would sound something like this. Mrs. Guest, the good news is we are able to get this service provided for you because the serviceman cannot come into the house right now. We're going to do a no contact drop of the kit in your garage. And let me explain what that means. And then 1, 2, 3, however many steps there are, and backing it up in writing. Point number 2, under how can you be diligent about communicating change? How are you making sure there is consistency in how the staff explains the change? The secret shops that we've been doing for 15 years tell me that this is an area of weakness even under good times. When we call an organization and they give us an instruction or a rule or a policy, we often will call back at a different time on a different shift and find out if we have standardization, if everybody is getting the same answer. So right now with airlines, are they handling it the same for every caller? I don't think they are. It's the same way with communication services. I had a friend who called her cable provider and found out that she could dump her bill all the way down to $20 a month for the same package that I believe I had. But when I called, that service was not available. That person I was talking to knew nothing about the deal my friend had gotten. Also remember, People talk to each other. Here in our town, we have a favorite Mexican restaurant. And 2 Friday nights ago, we did a virtual happy hour with 2 of our friends, and they had both gone. Each couple had gone and done pickup. And they both said that on their containers, it was written, "We miss you," or so glad you're picking up food from us. And they both got free churros that they didn't ask for. So you know what's going to happen, right? Last Friday night, my husband goes, "Hey, let's try ordering from such and such place, our favorite restaurant, because let's see if we get churros. Let's see if we get a note." And so we are kind of giddy, because that's the only entertainment we have right now, to open our bag when we get home. You guessed it. No note, no churros. My husband goes, "Oh, if I'd known, we would have ordered churros. I'm hankering for them." But see, the expectation was set in that the first 1 or 2 weeks that they were doing pickup food, they must have been adding that little feature. But because it didn't continue, now we feel disappointed. Interesting. All right, next up. Oh, one more thing. Our favorite restaurant in Door County, Wisconsin is called Al Johnson's. If you've ever been to Door County, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Goats on the roof, fantastic crepes, great syrup. Well, we ordered from them to get some refill on some of the supplies that we needed. And they sent in the box today a postcard. I just opened it a couple hours ago to get my syrup out. And inside is a postcard of the place. But on the back, it says in handwriting, "Dear Laurie, we so much," triple underlined, "appreciate you ordering from us." Simple thank you note. It makes me feel glad that we did it. Compare those two experiences, expecting churros, getting a handwritten thank you note. There is a difference between those two, and we need to be thinking about that as we're dealing with our customers. And then the third point under this one is, do you need a sign-off system in place to avoid miscommunications? Now, what in the world do I mean by a sign-off? Well, I'm a solopreneur, so when I make a decision on a change in policy, I don't have to tell anybody. It's just me. But there's a bunch of you on the line that you are not a group of one. You're a group of many. And so I'm going to just look over, and I'm going to grab somebody out of the pile here. And let's say Kessa Stevens from Raleigh, North Carolina. You're the first name I picked out. And I'm glad you're here. And you are in the tourism field. And I know that you don't work alone. You have people. So let's say you decide you're in charge. And at the end of this call, you've decided that we're all going to change something, a policy. But you tell one person or you tell two people, and then they're responsible for telling the next. You know what you get is the old telephone game. Where I used to work for years, we had this very simple, it may even sound antiquated to you guys, but I believe in this system, is that we had posted memos, and attached to it was this thin strip of paper that had everybody's initials on it. And you were required to initial that you had read the memo, initial and date it. And when everybody initialed it, I didn't throw it away. I put it in a folder that was called posted memos. And that way, 3 weeks from now, when you tell me that I didn't tell you about the policy change, I could take out that piece of paper and show it to you. And nothing shuts you up faster, I mean that lovingly, of course, nothing shuts you up faster than your own initials on a piece of paper of which you said, "I never told you about the policy change." Now, in today's environment, we don't do sign off on paper. That is a little antiquated. But what's the digital version of that? It's pretty simple. Please respond to this email and let me know that you have read and received it. And then when you send it back to me, not a reply all, please stop the reply alls. Just reply to me and let me know you saw it and you read it and you understood. And now I can archive that in your folder so that we don't have a misunderstanding later. That's what I mean by signed off communication. So, recap of category 2. We want to be diligent about our communications on changes in policy, procedure, and process. Have you spelled it out specifically? Who does it apply to and how long will it be in effect? Are you making sure that there's consistency among your staff and how they deliver that news to your customer? And finally, do you need a sign-off system for your internal team so you don't have a miscommunication? All right, here we go. Everybody keeping up, doing good? Give me a thumbs up if you're doing good over there. Oh, I have a question. I love the questions. By the way, there is a Q&A chat box at the bottom. If you have a specific question, I might not see it in the chat until after we're gone. So make sure if you have a question, click Q&A. But I see one, and that's from Leah Ford. Thanks for writing to me, Leah. And she said, "Are you available for 30-minute customer service trainings? I'm in the credit union industry, and with half of our staff working remotely, I'd love to give them a crash course on customer service." I know you guys listen and think I planted her there. What a perfect question to ask, because it actually fits with what I'm going to be talking about next. Emphasize your attention to detail. I did not plant that question. Leah's there, and I appreciate you being here. The answer a month or 2 months ago would have been, actually, no. I don't generally do pinpoint consulting for a variety of reasons. But what I've realized is right now, I have to listen to the pain of my customer and provide a solution. When I read that short paragraph from you, it's very easy to tell your pain is exactly written out. Remote workers, we need to give them a booster shot. We need to give it pinpoint right what they need. And my answer would be, of course I can do that for you. So I'll reach out to you afterwards and we'll talk about how that might work. But here's a perfect example of what I'm asking all you to do. This is what we used to do. Here is the change we need to make in order to meet the needs of our customers. So Leah, you may be the very first person I do it with, and we call that being a guinea pig. So buckle up. All right, here we go. Number 3, emphasize your attention to detail. Point number 1, in what format can you best point out the steps taken to ensure customer and staff safety along with their well-being? Tourism people on the call, listen up, this is important for you. Those of you who also are running hotels, restaurants, anything where we are going to open our doors and there's going to be a flood of people. Having a communication plan that shows the details of how you are providing safety is critical. And I had one pointed out to me this week by a dear friend of mine, Rita Craig, who's also a speaker on leadership. And I just thought this was a fantastic resource. We're going to provide the link in the post recording, but if you want it right away, it is the communication document that the Wynn Hotel put together in Las Vegas. You can just go to the wynnresort.com website, Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas, and right on their homepage, they have a document of which I'm providing you the link to. I have never seen one that is done as well as the Wynn did this. And they have everything broken down. When you go into the clubhouse, this is what's going to happen. When you stay at the hotel, this is what's going to happen. Now, many of you don't need anything quite that detailed, but it becomes the model of which you can form your internal communication plan. Absolutely free resource. It's generous of them to share it. And for those of you in that tourism and hospitality industry, please make sure that you go check it out. If you don't find it, zip me a note and I'll help you. But remember, the link will be inside our notes at the end of the recording. All right, next up, how will you indicate your diligence in completing safe and social distancing transactions? I had a perfect example of this just yesterday. As I've mentioned several times, I'm really missing my hairdresser. And she has a beautiful shop that's actually inside her home. And I've been going to her now for almost 30 years. I'm extremely attached to this person. And she's had to bump the appointment several times now for my husband and I because the state we're in isn't allowing her to open her doors. So when she called me yesterday to bump me to, now hold on, today is April 29th. My hair care is scheduled for June 3rd. Can you imagine? I will be totally gray by then. And I'm not doing this get dye at the end of my driveway thing and try and make my roots look good. Oh my gosh, no. I'm going to go gray before I trash my own hair. Anyway, my point, I digress. My point is that when Kelly got us on the phone, she told me what she was going to move the time to, and I was fine with that. And then she said, I just want to let you know, these are the things that I'm doing to ensure the safety of my customers. Number 1, there will be 30 minutes between every customer. So that's a lot of downtime for her. So there will be no contact between customers. I will completely wipe and sterilize everything down before you arrive. And the third thing is that I'm happy, I will be wearing a mask, happy to do so, and I ask that you do also. See, she's given me the 1, 2, 3 rundown so that when it is time for me to engage with her, I have complete confidence that every possible protection has been taken, and that's fantastic. And so, next up, the third point is, when is the right time to share the downside of a new policy? Now, here's a new topic. I know we said this was going to be a recap broadcast, but as I was getting ready for you, I was hit with the fact that there's going to be sometimes we have to tell them something they don't want to hear. What's that going to sound like? So what do I mean? Here's an example. What happens when the cinema reopens? We're thrilled about that, but they tell us there has to be 2 empty seats between every person watching the movie, and instead of providing fresh popcorn, everything will be served only out of a vending machine. Everything will be prepackaged. Well, I don't know about you, but half of the reason I go to the movie is for that popcorn. So when they remove something I enjoy, my feeling about that experience is going to downsize a little bit. Are you in that situation? Will I be able to go to your place of business or engage with you? But one thing is going to be a little bit different than how it's been before, and now I have to adjust. I belong to a large association, the National Speakers Association. We have our fingers crossed that the live conference will happen later on in the year, but it might not. And so one of the things they said on a town hall meeting recently is that if it does go, one of our favorite banquets that happens every year, you usually have tables of 8, and that is a joy for all of us. We love who we sit at a table with and how we communicate with them. Well, one of the things the hotel has suggested is that possibly there would be less people per table. So you might have a table of 8, but you're only seating 4. That changes the complete dynamics of this event. I'm not criticizing. I think it's a good solution, but I would want to be prepared. I would want to know as an attendee, hey, get ready. This is going to be a little different than it's been before. And so before you go inviting people to your table to join you, you need to know how many chairs are there going to be at the table. Just a small personal example. All right, so number 3 recap, emphasize your attention to detail. In what format can you best point out the steps? How will you indicate your diligence in completing a safe and social distancing transaction? And 3, when is the right time to share the downside of the new policy? Everybody hanging in? All right, I'm getting a couple thumbs up. Thank you for that. So number 4, all interactions with customers need wording review. If I could only get 2 minutes with you that you can hear what I'm saying and take it to heart, it's this one right now. Words matter. Pick them carefully. So you've got all kinds of words that are coming out of you in written format and also in your verbal format with your teams. But are they the right words that make the impact? And of course, I have examples. So for example, one of the people who was pre-registered belongs to a Nelson Catering. They're a catering service out of Springfield, Illinois. And I did a pre-call to see if I could learn some of the challenges that they're having when it comes to words. I didn't get that connection, unfortunately, made. So I'm making an assumption here. And if you are on the call, my catering team, I'd love to know if I'm on track or off track, because I'm totally making this one up. But I think we can imagine this. I'm hiring them to do a special event. Let's say it's a wedding. And I can hear myself saying to them something like this. Okay, so catering service, if I plan a party for 100 and I pay according to that, but then a large percent of the people won't come at the last minute because we have a fresh outbreak or something, will you let us off the hook on those meals? Okay. You're going to get some kind of questions. Am I right about that? Something where people are going to say, if this, then that. And they're always going to want to put you on the hook and get themselves off the hook. Agreed? We've got to be prepared for that. And I don't mean robotic, I mean prepared, meaning we've thought it through. We know what our policy, our stand is going to be on this, and everybody on the team knows it, which we talked about before. So here's what some of the answers might be. Here's what they might say that are the wrong words. No, what you book with us is what you have to pay. Or some version of that. And you might laugh and think I'm over dramatizing that. No, there's many times when people just blurt out exactly what it is. Hey, you sign up for 100, you're paying for 100, right? But if we change those words just a little bit, maybe it sounds like this. Actually, we have already put in a 20% change allowance with absolutely no penalty, Laurie. So if you book 100 and you have 20 people who cancel for one reason or another, there will be no additional charge for those 20 meals. And that's how we're going into this. So whatever that policy is. Or here's another one. However, the good news is any meals which we're not able to serve, we can box up in quantity in go boxes that you can use in other ways. So what that really means is, no, what you've committed to is what you're paying because we had to buy the food. We have to fix the food. And that's a way that we can articulate. So that's an example off the top of my head. I'll be curious to know when the catering team hears it, if I'm on track or off track. Okay, next. Are staff empowered to tweak the language, or do you want it delivered exactly the same way every time? Boy, I get asked this question a lot because I speak on scripting. And I think that there is a fine line between robotic and rogue. It's a fine line between robotic and rogue. Robotic means you say the same thing every time. Do you want fries with that? Even though I've already told you all I want is the hamburger and the Diet Coke. Right? So it becomes robotic. And rogue is where I get to make up whatever I want to make up. I get to go off the ranch and do whatever suits me as an employee. Both of those things are on opposite ends of trouble, right? And in between, it's always in between, that sweet spot is in the middle. And I believe that it is well-crafted words that we provide to the team and allow them to bring their own personality. While I might say it one way, Marilyn Sherman is on the call. Thank you for being here, Marilyn. She might take that exact same thought, but she uses just a little bit of her own personality and chooses a different word format, but the message to our customer is exactly the same. Important. And the last one on this is, can you switch negative language to positive language? For example, I purchased something during this time period where they would not allow me to use cash. They didn't want to touch the money. I get that. We needed to use a credit card or a debit card. And what they said to me is, we can't allow you to pay cash. You got to use a debit card or credit card. And that's how it was said. I said, oh, okay. So I put my cash away and I took out the card. They could change that phrase to, actually right now, we're asking for credit or debit cards only, followed with a smile. Do you remember in the very first broadcast, if you were with me, I talked about the hard period. Say what you want to say, put on a hard period, give it a nice smile. So watch the difference. Yeah, we can't allow you to pay cash. Or actually right now, we're only accepting credit or debit cards. You can clearly see the difference. Even though I was completely scripted, I read it right out of my script, it still had a real-time, I hope, sound and personality to it. All right, if you have any questions, now's the time. We only have 3 minutes left and I'm gonna be wrapping up quick. The fifth one is, and I said this several times, creativity plus humor equals connection. Go get you some of that if you can. Creativity plus humor equals connections. So does your industry lead itself to humor? If yes, when and how? Now, I can't remember if I shared this on another broadcast or a few podcasts that I did, but I got to show you guys this. And I know I could screen share it, but I just did it easy and printed it out. College Hunks Move Your Junk is a place out of Des Moines that we hired one time when my son needed to move some stuff. And great guys. And they just sent an email ad that I have to show you. And let's see if I can get it up in the camera. I love it. There we go. Schools closed, sports canceled, flights delayed, countries quarantined. College Hunks, we ride at dawn. This one actually made me laugh out loud. College Hunks, we ride at dawn. They have the ability to add a little humor. And if I needed to hire movers, they're my #1 right now because they went top of mind. They added some humor. They made a connection. And I had a great experience the last time I used them. Second, what clever ideas can you find in mainstream commercials to emulate? This is my homework for you. Start paying attention to what all the big pockets are doing out there that you think you can put into your business. I'm going to read to you a couple quick examples that were provided to me on my personal Facebook page. Very interesting. Fellow speaker Courtney Clark tells me that there's a place in Austin, Texas called Antonelli's Cheese. They have started doing virtual cheese tastings where you order and do contactless curbside pickup, easy for me to say, for a cheese tray. And then the Antonelli's host the tasting on Facebook Live that evening. But the brilliant marketing part of it is that the Facebook Lives are public. So I'm sitting there at home watching them talk about cheese, watching several of my friends feeding themselves eating cheese, and I'm trying to get on the wait list for the next virtual cheese tasting. Get on the wait list. Who doesn't want that? Here's another quick example. This is under the third category. Is there a fresh message that needs to be shared in your business? And this is the one I was trying to find earlier when I was talking about my buddy for the airline. And he said to me, he works for Cape Air. And he said, we are turning some of our now excess capacity into charter opportunities. Someone can book the aircraft for their own group to keep social distancing to a minimum. We've always offered charters, but we're more focused on marketing this product. And then I have one more for you. You got to go check this out. I have a fellow speaker by the name of Susan Frew, and she and her husband own Sunshine Plumbing Heating in Colorado. And they have this fantastic new product called Video Plumbing. And I got to be a customer of this. 2 days into this shutdown order, we had a plumbing issue at our home on a Sunday afternoon. So the odds of me getting help is very small. I didn't know her. I posted help on my Facebook and a bunch of my friends chimed in, call Susan, call Susan. I did. Within 10 minutes, her husband was on the phone with us telling us how to band-aid our problem until I could get a plumber here the following week. She saved us. This concept saved us. And I don't think that we would ever think of plumbing as a thing that could be fixed with video. So your fifth category is creativity plus humor equals connection. Get some of that where you can. Does your industry lend itself to humor? If so, how? What clever ideas can you find in mainstream? And finally, is there a fresh message that you can share in your business? So there you have it. Don't go yet. Got one more thing to tell you. 15 questions to process and really spend time doing a deep dive with the other members of your team. Getting our doors open again is just half the challenge. Smart communication is the other. And before I give you my final tip, I got to tell you what I'm excited about. For years, I've talked about opening a virtual store. I haven't done it for a variety of excuses. And you know what happened? This time at home took all those excuses away. So I could either open a virtual store or I could begin at-home workout routine. So I opened a virtual store, and I'm really excited about it. Our grand opening will be next week. We've got some clever promotion coming out with that. But what you will find in that store, and you're the first to find out about it, is I have repurposed some of my video intellectual property on customer service, and I have put that into 6-packs that are content specific. So that if you look on the page, you will find exactly what's in each 6-pack. They're $49 each. There's 3 options, or you can get all 3 for $100. What is also nice is if you buy the 18-pack, meaning all 3 kits, you can actually take that amount and apply it to my full online virtual clubhouse that is filled with customer service and staff development ideas that can provide you all kinds of resources. I call that going beyond the broadcast. So you can check that out by going to laurieguest.com, click on store, and everything's there, or you can check out the link that's in the description. All right, here's my final thought for you. I think that it is really important that we think about the fact that right now we are all in a dark forest at night with a low-level flashlight in our hand. And we're watching the trail, and we can see a few feet or a few yards in front of us, but that's all we can really see. And if you are feeling frightened, there may be times when standing still, pausing and waiting for the light to get a little brighter or for the sun to come up and lighten things up might be the best thing for you right now. You do not have to make major changes unless you have to make major changes. What do I mean by that? Is that if you have the ability to stand still and pause, please do that. Take care of you, take care of your health, find beauty, the silver lining in this time that we are at stay home. But for those of you who can see a little farther, or you aren't as concerned of what's out there in the woods, then now is the time. You can walk a little faster. The trail's certainly not as crowded, and you can find new and creative things to do. The one thing that I absolutely know for sure is that I'm here to give you a brighter flashlight. And the way I can give you a brighter flashlight is to take reality with a splash of hope. And when we combine those two things, we can help you find those dollars, find the connection, and make sure that when our doors open again, we are ready for business. I really thank you for joining us for this series. If you missed any of them, they are all on the YouTube channel. We'll have all the links there for you. I am easy to stay in touch with through social media, or you can also do my join by text. You simply take your phone and type the word goodies, GOODIES, to the telephone number 66866. That's right, 66866. That's going to park 6 customer service articles in your email and automatically sign you up for our Stay Connected list. We're starting something brand new in May. It won't be live broadcast because I'm thinking this isn't going to last another month. And so they will be pre-recorded with a brand new theme with brand new hope. And that's how I can give you a brighter flashlight. Thanks for listening.